Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman, as always, and we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Tons of different little bits of industry news from big companies like Bungie and Riot. We've got your Pantheon MMO feedback from last week. Thank you to all of you who chimed in with your thoughts on Pantheon, including some well-known Pantheon content creators that I'm a fan of. I had to edit their comments down, but if you want some details about people that have had hands-on time with Pantheon, check out last week's show on MMOBomb.com in the comments. They wrote up tons of things. I brought a little bit of it here today. I have to edit it down just for time's sake. And while you're there, poke around. Find a new game to play. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes, Spotify, click thumbs up, click subscribe, turn on notifications, give us a comment, throw that algorithm for a whirl. We appreciate it. But joining me to get all over everything today, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
I'm sleepy.
Aw, do you need a nap?
I need a nap.
You need a nap?
I need a nap. It's been one of those weeks where I haven't been going to bed till like 3 or 4 a.m.
That's no bueno. Like by choice or like I can't sleep?
Like, your brain doesn't shut off, whatever. So it's just one of those go to bed around 3 or 4 a.m.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got to ask. There's a little gray table to your right behind you or bookshelf or something.
It's a bookshelf thing.
Are those paper 3D glasses there?
They are.
Why do you have those?
So eons ago, when Game Breaker was still a thing, for my birthday one year, Gary got me 6 months of Loot Crate, and that was one of the items in them.
What? Was there other 3D items in the box?
I know.
Here's some paper 3D glasses as if you went to see Freddy's Dead in the movie theater.
Well, I can't remember for sure, but I think it was just like kind of like a Doctor Who reference because there's the episode where Tin wears the 3D glasses to see.
Oh, that's right. For all you Whovilles. For all you Whovilles out there. Whovians. Sorry, Whovians. Also on the line, Mr. Troy Blackburn. What's up, New Fridge?
I am completely awake and ready to go and super excited for this. Let's go, baby.
So you need a nap too, huh?
Yes, please. Can we have nap time? That would be great.
I see your Steam Deck behind you. I see it. It's a thing of beauty. It's a lot of fun. If you want to know our early thoughts on Steam Deck after having it for a week or two, check out Gaming Gumbo over on ReadyCheckRadio.com. Yes, we'll have the new episode tomorrow, but last week's episode, Troy and I gushed all over the Steam Deck. That sounds awful.
Together.
Show's over.
Need to modify the Steam Deck like Linus did. No, I'm not putting in a heat sink installed to the back of it and 3 terabytes of memory. No, I'm not. It's a hell of a video series, though. On that note, let's get covered what we did come to cover today, and that's the news. All right, first up, we're going to start with like a segment of a lot of just industry news, kind of like rapid fire, because there are a lot of smaller bits of news today from bigger companies. Now, we had talked previously, gang, about Minecraft kind of giving the middle finger to NFTs. I believe we talked about that last week a little bit. Just to catch you up, Minecraft said, get that NFTs and blockchains out of here. That does not fit with the spirit of Minecraft and everybody having everything available and having the same playing field to go and create. And they said NFTs are counter to that. They're limited. They encourage speculation rather than playing and exploration, and they just don't jive. So no, you can't do it in Minecraft, and we're going to update our terms of service. So stop creating skins and worlds and stuff like that you're selling or trying to sell via NFT style technology or blockchain technology. Fair enough. Whether you like that stance from Minecraft, doesn't matter for this story. That's just the stance they took. And many did like it. Many did like it, including myself, if I'm being honest. I did like it. You might think it's a little PR self-serving to say that that's why they're doing it, and I'll give you that, but I still liked it. And so, Troy, this week we had NFT Worlds turn around and say, F you. If we're not going to be allowed to do our NFTs, blockchain fun stuff in your game, you know what? Choking on my own spit.
Oh, what? We're just going to die live on
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's you know what? If you're not going to let us do our NFT stuff in your game, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take our kickball and go home. And we're going to make our own Minecraft game. And we will allow NFTs and blockchain technologies in it. First off, they didn't like Minecraft's answer. They thought it was, very self-serving, saying Microsoft and Mojang and Minecraft have signaled that they have no regard for creators, builders, and players if at any moment a new idea or vision conflicts with any internal politics or opinions of their power-holding minority, regardless of their public-facing ideals. So kind of, hey, you're trying to put a PR spin on it, but it's the bigwigs. It's the only thing that statement, Troy, kind of doesn't hold water with me personally, because honestly, if I think about like the corporate overlords, most of them want this type of stuff because it gets that rapid funding and escalation of speculation, and then they can extract cash from that. But, whatever. Maybe this is exactly how they feel. So now they're going to dive headfirst into development to develop a new game with the core mechanics of Minecraft, but with the modernization and active development Minecraft has been missing for years. This can't possibly end well, can it?
No, there's absolutely no way. Number one, even if you just take the NFTs out of it, how many games have tried to be Minecraft at this point and have failed miserably and fell right on their ass? Plenty of them. Then you want to add in NFTs with no gamer likes NFTs. Nobody likes NFTs except for the few people at the top who are getting rich on them. Like the company NFT Worlds would be the only people that actually make money off of NFTs in this situation. If Microsoft doesn't want that in their game, that is their game to do with however they please. And it just, every time I read that quote that attempted a takedown of Microsoft, saying they're self-serving, you know what? If a company is not going to do NFTs, go ahead and put your PR spin on it. Go ahead and spin it out there and make yourself sound like the good guy. Because guess what? In today's gaming genre, in the world out there, you are the good guys if you're not doing NFTs right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally, the announcements, Q, are generally met with, applause when games are like, nah, we're going to skip that. We're going to skip that. And derision when they say, we're going to add that or we're going to switch to something like that. I mean, hey, Lord Luck in chat, all about it. Going to buy all the NFTs and all the Tom Clancy games from Ubisoft. You mean all the ones that are still being made? We talked about that last week. All of that. But I think Troy's right, Q, right? Like, everybody has tried to do a Minecraft spin-off anyway. And there are some that are more successful than others, seeing in chat, like Hightail being mentioned there. We also have had, throughout the years, Cube World, and just like that went more voxel-based, like Trove, and even Trove itself is kind of a spin-off of the Minecraft idea. Like, we do see them basically come and go. Can you create a Minecraft game specifically for the NFT purpose and still have people actually want to play it? Like, maybe your NFT people want to get in there and sell some things back and forth, and that's cool, but you need regular players day in and day out. And don't you just sit and kind of look at, as a gamer, if you're not into NFT speculation and stuff like that, don't you look at it and go, well, I'd really just rather not deal with the NFT stuff. I'll shell out a couple of bucks, own Minecraft, and I'll have fun for the rest of my life in there without having to deal with this stuff. Like, I don't know how good an idea this actually is to take the kickball and go home.
Well, I mean, on one hand, I think it's great. They can go make their own Minecraft with blackjack and hookers, and it'll be fine. And it'll be separate from everybody else who doesn't want the
Okay,
blackjack
wait a minute. I did not know that there was going to be blackjack and hookers. You might have just sold me on NFT Worlds as Minecraft. I did not know that was an option. I didn't know that was going to be there.
But I mean, you're right. Like regular, so the big thing that they've been trying to sell NFTs on games on, right, is well, there's this whole section of people who don't really care about playing games, but want to create for games. And therefore, we're going to give them a way to do that. And it's like, yeah, but we don't want those people in game with those of us that are trying to play games. Those are what we call developers.
Yeah.
And they could go be paid to make games like that. That's how that works. But if you want this like constantly trading, obscure items back and forth on the internet that anybody can actually kind of own, they just don't own the receipt for thing to, trade money back and forth. Yeah, sure, go make your own Minecraft and do it there. And you won't have any players, but you'll have lots of people just trading stuff back and forth on your Minecraft. Like,
there's nobody creating anything, but man, do we swap skins like bitches over here.
like just go ahead and do. I mean, even like with XIV, right? When Square Enix was like, oh well, we're kind of looking into this because this might be a thing, and Yoshi P, everybody was like, oh my god, they're gonna put NFTs in Final Fantasy 14, and Yoshi P went, no, calm down. This is never happening.
And then Square went ahead and released a cloud figurine or cloud action figure that has with an NFT option. Because, Final Fantasy VII wasn't a game that expressly in your face talked about corporate greed and capitalism destroying a planet and people fighting against that. Let's go ahead and slap an NFT on a figure to that game. Anyway, sidebar story. We'll watch and see what NFT Worlds goes, but there's been an awful lot of companies that have said, I'm just going to create my own Minecraft. And really, there's a handful that still stand tall. I see Roblox being mentioned because of the blackjack and hookers thing. We're going to talk about Roblox in a minute. The Riot settlement for gender discrimination is done. That was a $100 million settlement that got its way through the courts, but then had to have, obviously, final approvals from the judge and everything. The DFEH in that lawsuit, if you remember, was originally seeking $400 million. The Riot obviously did not want to pay that. And there were objections to the original $10 million settlement. So I guess that's kind of in the middle, $10 million and $400. All right, let's just call it $100 million. That money is going to be split between a little over 1,000 women and then a little over 1,000 contractors as well. So it's not easy to look at that and just be like, oh, cool, everybody's going to get 100G for their claims if they meet certain eligibility requirements. No, it's going to be divvied up in different ways based on circumstances and things like that. So 100 million sounds like a big number, Troy, but it's also a number that when you're talking about over 1,000 women and 1,000 individual contractors, all with varying degrees of claims and duration of claims, that money's going to go real fast. But counterpoint, it's certainly a hell of a lot better than Blizzard's $13 million slap on the wrist.
100 million from Riot. It does at least sound like they would notice that money missing, like you said, unlike the Blizzard settlement where like they make that in 30 minutes. They don't care. At the end of the day, I'm glad to see that this came out at least somewhat in the favor of the people who were discriminated against, and it sounds like some of them will be getting an amount of money to at least somewhat reasonably compensate them for what they've been through dealing with that company.
Q, is this enough?
I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and this is going to be a weird kind of sidebar, but like I watch Boston Legal a lot, and one of the things that they constantly said in that show was the point of lawsuits isn't really to like necessarily always pay the person back who was harmed or whatever, because you're not going to fix the harm that was there, but to hit the other people hard enough that they don't do it again. So I mean, I don't know, like I think I did like just the general division math on 1,000 people when I was first reading it, and it came up to like 100K per
Yeah,
person or something.
that's the 100K if you divide it over
So
1,000 women, which Chad
right.
is yelling at me for. Ooh, you're an astrophysics major. Nice. We should hang out. We could talk about all kinds of dorky stuff.
So for a lot of people, $100,000 is 5 years worth of salary, including QA testers, right? Because they're right around 20K a year. But so it seems like a lot in that way, but I mean, it's not when you get down to it, it's like, oh, there's this other extra 1,000 people, and then it's going to be based on, like, I don't know what their jobs are, or maybe the amount of harm that was done to the specific individual, or whatever it is. You might end up with some people who have $5 and some people who have, the 100,000. Like, there's no way to really
It's always like when I get that email,
determine
Troy,
it.
that's like, hey, you qualify for a reward in this class action settlement. Fill out this claim. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I bought that team. Like, when Vizio got busted for like TVs that had recording, audio recording, like always on or able to be remotely turned on, and they got busted by that stuff. And they sent a class action lawsuit, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I've had this TV for 8 years now. It's been spying on me, apparently. Let's see how much I get. And I get a sweet ass check for $13.87. Like, yeah.
More than I was going to guess $1.25, so you got more than I thought you were going to. $13 for my TV spying on me for 8 years.
Yeah, fan bringing up an interesting point too, that the settlement does not take into account when we talk about $100 million any lawyers' fees that are going to go into them litigating the settlement as well. So, yeah, Q, I hope you're right, and it's the message here. Yeah, getting a little bit of money certainly helps, but money isn't the cure-all either. Getting a check for $100,000, if that's what you're entitled to, is great, but that doesn't necessarily cure trauma, right? Mm-hmm. So it's important to look at all sides of that. And if you don't want to talk about things, don't. And that's apparently what Bungie's doing lately, because if you've thought that maybe the Destiny 2 communication has been, I don't know, getting a little slower lately, that is not your imagination. That is absolutely not your imagination. That they're just not as vocal publicly as they used to be, and that's on purpose. That's on purpose. Gamers from Destiny 2 asking on Reddit, I miss seeing so many Bungie replied threads here. This coming from the Mediocre Thor over on Reddit, on the Destiny 2 Reddit. Destiny the game, to be specific. And yeah, what happened? Bungie went ahead and replied. Damage04 community manager comes in on Reddit, says, here's the thing. The harassment we've spoken to isn't just rude replies on Twitter or vague comments. There have been real threats towards our people in our studio. We reported on a lawsuit that is underway against a cheater who allegedly threatened people and threatened to burn down the studios. Apparently, they're getting others of that. We're taking them seriously, which is leading to an amount of reduced communication as the team plans future protections and strategies to help avoid these sort of things. I will be very clear in saying that I appreciate the studio in the amount that it's helped me personally after some serious harassment towards me and my family. I'm taking time off in part because of this. Just because you can't see it directly in a given tweet or forum reply doesn't mean it didn't happen. None of this is meant to be punishment to the people who can leave clear and respectful feedback for our developers, mind you. There's no instances at Bungie where people actively look at a conversation and plan retaliatory actions towards our player base via hotfixes, updates, or comm strategies. Sometimes we just need to take some time to get things straightened out. Can take weeks, can take months, just like any given development pipeline, as we want what's best for our players and our employees. That said, we can't just move about business as usual until things are resolved. It sucks, but we want to be sure that folks are safe and taken care of. I agree it's a bummer that we don't have as much interaction here as of late. The team is planning ways in which to communicate with you all. Some of these plans I'm really looking forward to when I get back in. I can assure you that many of the team are checking out threads each day and talking about your feedback. Cheers. So, Yeah. Stop being assholes, first off. That's stupid. I shouldn't have to tell you this. I shouldn't have to tell you this.
You shouldn't have to.
The words
and they're
are
not
kind
going to
of
listen anyway.
because what they're talking about here. So Damage, right? He's one of the people that was receiving the threats.
Yeah.
Somebody was sitting, saying somehow and here's the thing, like people like to be like, oh, because he was replying to a comment where somebody's like, well, I've never seen any of this happening on social media. Just to remind you guys, email and snail mail are still a thing. Like there are other ways to threaten people. And like a more credible, scary way to threaten somebody is one of like physically dropping something off at somebody's house or something like that. Like nobody, like they're probably going to take it less seriously if it were just threats on Twitter. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, but can you imagine the we see these stupid stories all the time where, somebody got threatened or somebody got a death threat because they didn't like a patch, they didn't like this, they didn't like that. Yeah. Just like the stupidest stuff to get doxxed or threatened or death threats or anything. Like we see it all the time. It's so dumb. It is so stupid. Like,
that's the thing, it's so
what are you
common.
thinking? If I threaten to kill somebody, that'll get me what I'm asking for. What? What?
That'll get my buff on my two-handed sword.
Unreal. But here's the thing. I want to ask this because Q mentioned, Troy, that this comment from Damage was a response not to the original post, but to somebody that commented in the post. And they specifically replied talking about, I don't agree with this. You are punishing all the players for what is, I am sure, an absolute minority of players being idiots. An absolute minority of people just being dumb. Is this fair to the rest of the players to kind of scale back this communication? And Damage kind of saying, look, it's not being done for that reason. It's not being done as a punishment. It's being done on, hey, let's keep quiet a little bit so that we can build some safeguards against this minority that we may not have in place now. And then then we can go back to business as usual. It doesn't seem to be this, let's just peel back and stay away from the community. It's let's build some firewalls. But can you kind of see the point of, hey, man, that feels really unfair as somebody that just likes Destiny, is used to getting answers on the forums, on the Reddit, and on this stuff. And now because one guy, 7 guy, 10 guys, them, it doesn't all have to be guys, thems, they made threats, now we all suffer. Like that, the post got post got downvoted to hell and back, but I can't look at it objectively and say there isn't a kernel of truth and feels bad in that viewpoint on why am I being punished for what is an absolute minority.
Well, of course it's not fair, but I mean, it, like you said, it's not intended to punish. It may feel like you're being punished because you're not getting the communication or whatever that you're used to, but it's also one of those things where, like I said, I think where he got shot down was less the, well, this isn't really fair, than it is the, well, I haven't seen it happening, therefore it doesn't happen portion of it. Right. That I think was where everybody was like where Damage decided he needed to step in and address it, because just because you don't see something happening doesn't mean it's not happening. You might just not be in the right place to see it. But yeah, no, of course it's not fair, but it's not them you should be blaming. It's the people who put them in the situation where they had to address it.
Easy to forget that we live in an age of transparency with developers that we haven't always had. We get more from them at this point, especially, obviously more of the online games than necessarily some of the single player developers out there. But we get more from developers nowadays than we've ever gotten. Some companies may be withstanding, but it's easy to get used to that and take that for granted. And I feel like, yeah, you've got the people being evil and mean and making the threats, and they have to respond to that, and they have to do what's best for them and their developers and the people in their house. And it sounds like what he said was, hey, we're taking a step back, but we're like Mike said, we're trying to get some safeguards in place and try to look at our communications process and decide what's going to be best for us and our people. And even then, there are folks who have forgotten and take for granted that we get a level of transparency that we've never had before. And well, this isn't fair to us. Well, they don't have to give you any of it. They don't have to do anything. We've lived in ages where we didn't get anything. It was like, surprise, patch day. Here's what it is.
Everything came through magazines on a 30-day cycle.
So I was going to mention magazines for a different reason. That's funny. Because, like, to your point, Troy, it's not only do we get more information about the game, but we also live in a world where it's much easier to find information, a la somebody's address, somebody's phone number, somebody's physical location, where, you know, if you got a letter in the mail to the Nintendo Power contact address that was a death threat, you probably threw it out. Where now, if somebody says something directly to you, you do have to take that a little more seriously, because, hey, we all live in an internet age. Your phone number and your address may be private, but they're out there somewhere. Like, it's not as private as you would want it to be anymore.
They could
it just
be
isn't.
staring at a Google map of your address while they're making those threats. You don't never know.
So obviously, I hope everything stays safe for the Bungie team and for everybody. Just fuck, if it's a video game, god damn it, it's a video game. I've been angry at myself for screwing up in a game. I've been angry at a game when I was a younger person, 7, 8 years old, for being convinced that the game was cheating against me because it knew I was playing. I have never once been so angry about anything video game related that I needed to reach out to somebody. Like, that has just never happened. It's just never crossed my mind. Anyway, your friends over at ArenaNet, on the other hand, Troy, are looking for a senior encounter designer, and this looks to be part of Guild Wars 2, since one of the nice-to-haves is familiarity with Guild Wars 2, and it was actually sent out via tweet from the Guild Wars 2 account. But what's probably a little more interesting is that they're also looking for a senior technical content designer for an unannounced project. Now, we know that they have been working on a few different projects on and off to varying degrees for the last couple of years. There was even a rumor a little while ago that, you know, their parent company, NCSoft, had canceled one or two of them, and they had to reallocate ArenaNet staff, and so they're still kind of working through that. But what's interesting here is that this one specifically mentions it's for an unannounced project, and it's described as an online multiplayer role-playing game. Now, it is not listed as an MMORPG. It is listed as a online RPG that is multiplayer. To me, that feels a little more like Guild Wars 1, right? At Guild Wars 1, I would not call an MMORPG. I'd kind of call it a co-op online RPG. This kind of feels like that type of description. And it also says that it's within a known IP. A known IP for an established online fantasy IP. I mean, as far as ArenaNet goes, that's just Guild Wars, right? I mean, unless they've picked up a license, and I don't think it would be like a Guild Wars 3. I don't think they're ready for that, and I don't think
they would get so much flack for doing anything that related to a Guild Wars 3 right now, because they just said with End of Dragons, Colin Johansson was very insistent that this is not the end of Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 still has a long life ahead of it, blah, blah, blah. If they started a Guild Wars 3 right now, there'd be a lot of pissed off people.
Established online fantasy IP based in Unreal Engine 5. So, yeah, I was, to Cal saying in chat, a Guild Wars spinoff of some type. I could definitely see that. But I'm going to venture a guess here and think that they picked up a license somewhere. And that they've been working on. I don't know what license it would be, because Lord of the Rings isn't really up for grabs right now. Like, what else have we got? Maybe possibly a Game of Thrones? Anybody doing anything with that lately? Besides the mobile winter is coming crap.
The funny thing about that is the only thing that popped in my head as far as like what they do have was mobile Guild Wars.
That's what I thought too initially. I was thinking Guild Wars Immortal.
Oh God. Oh God. I don't know. I think something in the Guild Wars universe is probably much more likely than any guess of an external IP, but I wouldn't put it past them grabbing an IP from somewhere. I just don't know what it is. So I'm super interested. If you want a job, go ahead and apply. Go ahead and apply. And then you could email me and tell me what it is. And I won't tell anybody that you told me.
Right.
I'll post it as an unnamed source. An unnamed source. Before we leave industry news, hey, remember when Roblox was hacked and a bunch of stuff got exposed back there? The one that was trying to like extort Roblox into paying them. And well, in some of that documentation that has been gone through over and over now, there's actually presentations in there talking about Roblox getting into China and some internal presentations the team used to talk about what they were going to have to do to get Roblox into China. And obviously they had to jump through a ton of censorship hoops and stuff like that, the typical standard stuff as far as those go, but then making changes as far as any references to Taiwan, if there were any in certain things. Like there was obviously a lot of hoops. The one that surprises me the most, Troy, is that they fully expected it to be hacked before they even launched. In their presentation, when they were talking about what partner did they want to go with, whether it was going to be Tencent or NetEase or some other company to help them get into China, they have in their presentation, expect that hacking has already started, expect hundreds of people working on reverse engineering their code. Now, eventually they did go with Tencent, and there's still stuff going on to make sure that because it temporarily shut down and to make important transitory actions on it. But they fully expected to get hacked by their own publisher. Wonderful.
It's China, though. They'll make money hand over fist. So they're like, oh, screw it. Just give us the buckets of money, hack the game, and let's go on. And then we'll ride it all the way to the bank.
They were like, whatever publisher we team up with is going to hack us. They were like, we know this already. This is a known. Unreal.
Yeah, but like you said, there's lots of money to be had there, right? If there weren't lots of money, they wouldn't go. None of these companies would go through the stuff they go through to, port the game over. Like,
yeah.
CCP wouldn't have a completely separate server of EVE Online for a game they intend for everybody to play on if they really weren't getting good money out of China for it.
That's probably the biggest sign of just how much money there is to be made in China and why everybody wants their game to go there, because they're willing to jump through hoops they wouldn't jump through a lot of other places.
I mean, I do remember talking to Hi-Rez about the whole because they work with Tencent, right? Like what they had to go through to get the game, get Smite approved over there. And they actually had to go through somewhat similar stuff. I think it's been years, but I think they said for Mexico, because some of the rules that Mexico has about what can be portrayed in media and everything, like gambling. Like, so they had to make sure that they didn't have anything that appeared remotely like gambling in it for them to be allowed.
That's okay here. All that gambling is fine here.
Yeah, it was.
And we're talking about Smite. Here, have some loot boxes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, now that you're like, wait, it's like that
doesn't.
What they think. Like,
it doesn't look like gambling.
But do you want a skin? Good luck.
Wink. All right, we do have some games coming soon and some updates to games. So I think maybe we should cover some of those. I'll tell you what, as stupid as this game sounds, every single thing I see on Exoprimal just makes me want to play the damn thing more. Like,
and the suit with the big shield has got me feeling some kind of way about it. I like the whole thing just seems like a gimmick, right? The dinosaurs and the future tech, but the dude with the shield holding it up against the Triceratops charge, that's got me, man. That's speaking my language right there.
You and your big shieldy with big hammer guys.
Yes, sir.
Here's the Triceratops that's coming up here. Oh, he even has like the big hand go out too. Yeah, I mean, just like this looks like stupid fun. But what's kind of impressing me, we got the what I'm showing you today, and why we're talking about is we got this new trailer showing off some of the dinosaurs, right? And some of the neosaurs, which look sick. Like, the neosaurs look absolutely sick. All the different variants of them. You're looking at those now. They look awesome. This looks like stupid fun. And it actually looks like there's a fair amount of money going into some of these animations. Are really impressive for a game that's like, hey, get some friends and kill waves of dinosaurs, guys. Let's go. Like, some of these animations look sick.
Yeah, when you sit here and you're like, oh, it's so stupid, but it looks like stupid fun. I'm just sitting here thinking, this is like the Sharknado of games. Right? Like, it's the dumbest shit in the universe, but you still love it anyway. Like, that's what this is.
This is Exoprimal, Magic Slinky. This is coming from Capcom in 2023. We've been reporting on it for about a month or so. When it was first revealed, I forget what event it was revealed at, but so we've been reporting on it for a couple of months. Yeah, it is a multiplayer instance-based. Dinosaurs have come through time due to I still love the hundreds of velociraptors just falling out of a portal in the sky.
And they're fine. They're fine.
They're totally fine. They're totally fine. They also have one trailer, like the view of all those dinosaurs running down a skyscraper, and the entire skyscraper is just covered with dinosaur bodies as it's going down. Yeah, velociraptors are awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on this stupid thing. I hope it's not awful. But it definitely looks like you could have a good time, unplug your brain, and just do your thing. Not a lot of news on this one topic-wise, but Tower of Fantasy, which we talked about 2 shows ago, now has an official global launch date on August 10th. So if you're looking forward to that one, August 10th is your day. There's going to be a preload on August 9th. And you can still go to mmobomb.com, check out the story. There's links in there if you haven't pre-registered yet to get your pre-registration rewards. There's millions of pre-registers, so they blew past a bunch of different milestones. So there's a bunch of freebies that you can get if you go ahead and pre-register. Now, August 10th, preload on August 9th. Now, we also have on the site for you a dev blog from the Skull and Bones team. That game's coming up. Now... And it better do well. That better do well. Because that's Ubisoft's lineup for the rest of the year.
Pretty much, yep.
Besides the Mario and Rabbids sequel, which will sell well, but it's going to sell well to a smaller audience. It's Nintendo Switch only. You have to like tactics-based games, RPGs. The first Mario and Rabbids is a blast. I will be buying the sequel, but this isn't a $10, $15, $20 million unit mover. So you've got Mario Rabbids sequel and Skull and Bones. There's a dev blog talking you through like combat and keeping everybody up to speed and not mutinying. Why do I bring this up? Because we've already reported all their cancellations and delays, including the Battle Royale in the Ghost Recon universe that nobody wanted. Well, they went ahead and canceled that. So this is it for Ubisoft. And it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Kotaku, in their reporting of just the delays and cancellations, which we also reported, Kotaku talked to somebody that was a dev or claims to be a dev, and Kotaku normally at least validates they are who they say they are to a fair extent, that stayed anonymous, but they said don't expect much from this one. From Kotaku's reporting, who's reporting? I want to give the credit here. Ethan Gotch. According to one developer, there is little to the pirate ship game beyond what was already shown when it reemerged in a showcase live stream earlier this month. Despite a bevy of resource gathering survival sim mechanics, they said each individual part of the game lacked depth. Lacked depth. Remember, gang, this is the game that had to come out. It had to. Due to a contract with the Singapore government to get Ubisoft Singapore built and up and operational, they had to release this title. So it's being forced out. This developer also talks about that there was supposed to be a testing phase. The game was not in any type of readiness for that testing phase. I think it was scheduled for like September, October. And so, no, they're not going to have that either. Do not buy this until you see reviews. I don't care if you are like me and you just absolutely love the idea of being a pirate in the open world and doing your thing. I do. But don't buy this day one. I just can't in good conscience buy this on day one, Troy.
It doesn't sound like it's anywhere near, like, it's probably functional, but as far as really ready for a release, it doesn't sound like it's ready at all as far as content-wise.
I mean, we may end up getting a copy for review purposes because it is multiplayer, in which case I will happily stream it and tell you exactly what I think about it and do a first look video on it. But if we don't get a review copy, this is definitely one I'm going to be waiting on. I'm not going to shell out cash for it.
I'm with Ninja Pandas in chat. There's so many red flags. It's a game that they had to put out in order to fulfill an agreement to get a studio built. It's a game that it's being told by developers that, you know, it's not very deep. There's not much to it. What you've seen is pretty much what there is. It kind of sounds like New World. Like it was so exciting to get into that at first, but then there's just no depth to anything going on. And you see how the numbers fell on that dramatically.
Justin says probably nobody getting review copies. You may be right.
You know, the most interesting thing about that preview thing, that whatever that they did, was the bit at the beginning where they had the guy doing the wood carving.
Yeah.
Like that was cool. That was fun to watch. The rest of it was just kind of like,
Maybe the suckiest part is I'm interested in that game.
Yeah, so am I.
It looks like it could be fun if done correctly. And it looks like a good game. I mean, it looks good visually and everything about it, like, you know, Sea of Thieves, except, you know, without the cartoony stuff. I would be down for that. But I'm with Mike for sure. That's going to have to be somebody's going to have to review it before I get a hold of it and even think about buying that at this point.
Yeah, connection with Twitch just went down, but we're good on the recording, gang. Twitch we'll see in like 30 seconds. Something between Streamlabs and Twitch. Last up today, we've got just a little recap here. We put up 2 first look videos. 2 first look videos this week. Troy, or Anthony did Chimera Land. Troy, you did Evil Dead. What'd you think? What do you got?
I tweeted out, I think the first weekend I started playing it, that this is the most fun I've had doing a first look. And I've had some fun doing some of our first looks that I've done for the site. But I enjoyed this one quite a bit. It's sort of that 4-person versus 1 survival horror, except for the bad guy has more to do than just run around and directly just try to kill people. You're actually running around the world trying to gather power and doing sort of I compared it to sort of a dungeon keeper type situation where you're doing little things here and there to try to slow them down to get yourself built up to a point where you can actively attack them and really go in and try to get the kill. And the survivors have a lot to do. They're running around collecting pieces of the map, and then they've got to gather the Necronomicon and the blade, and then they've got to go fight the darkness demon, and then you got to fight the Kandarian demon, whoever the other player is, head on, while you're defending the Necronomicon to try to banish them to the afterlife. I think it was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. Optimization probably it was small, but it could still use a little bit of work. But other than that, servers ran great. Everything worked as intended, and I had a blast playing it.
Yeah, I like these asymmetric gameplay things. Like we were talking about Evolve in pre-show, which, by the way, the peer-to-peer servers just magically came on. So if you have Evolve Stage 2 on Steam, and you know they shut down the legacy stuff, the little Discord community that's very dedicated to it screamed. They turned the legacy stuff back on, and they also turned on the peer-to-peer server. So who knows if we're going to see a resurgence, but get in while the getting's good. There's like 1,000 people playing it right now. So if you like Evolve and you own it already, go ahead. You obviously can't buy it or get it the free-to-play version anymore. But so I do like Evolves and Dead by Daylights and Friday the 13th. And so I was looking, and I love the Evil Dead series, so I was very happy to see Bruce Campbell, and they recently put in the Army of Darkness DLC and all that fun stuff. So you do have the castle and baddies that you would want from Army of Darkness. I really enjoyed this. I really, really enjoyed this game. So I'm glad that you did too.
It's a lot of fun, and the vehicles make a fun difference too. It's a little different than everything else out there when you've got the vehicles riding around in those, and then the demon can possess the car too.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of good fun. And the people I played with were all nice, at least for now. I can't guarantee that obviously going forward, but I played with a lot of friendly people who were communicating in chat.
Q, look like your kind of thing?
Nah.
No.
No, I watched like 2 or 3 minutes of it and got bored.
Well, there's something to be said for some brutal honesty.
Started in on the big action too. The first few minutes is the most action in the
game. Let's slide over and get started with the weekly bombs. Q, you're up. What do you got for us this week?
I'm going to assume you said me because you're roboting again.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to give an A-bomb to Bernard Cribbins passing away. For those of you who don't know who that is, it's Wilf in Doctor Who. So, Donna's grandpa died at the age of 93.
Oh, lots of it. Like the entire cast of Goodfellas is dying too. Like all of them. They're all going. I'm going to give an A-bomb to Diablo Immortal, which introduced a bug causing people to lose out on millions of experience points. And Blizz said, hey, okay, we're going to try and hotfix that. Dropped a hotfix that didn't fix it. And then stayed silent on it for days. After that,
you can just buy that XP back. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure it's in the cash shop somewhere. Way to go! What do you got, Troy?
Dub-bomb to Evil Dead game. I just got done singing its praises. Had a lot of fun. Still having a lot of fun. I got some friends who enjoy it as well. So, liking the game.
Awesome. From the viewers over on YouTube and mmobomb.com. Oh, hold on. I got to scroll back because some people had to leave early and they put it in here. Japan's Freak says, "Da-bomb for Emmett Selk for one of the best villains I've seen in a game." Definitely. And was there one more above that? There was. If there is, it's long gone. Okay. So from YouTube and from mmobomb.com, Dishwisher says, "Da-bomb to Jason and Mike for starts singing Precious Little Life Forms." And the tiniest and friendliest pretty little A-bomb to Mike and Jason for the same reason. Because since then, I randomly get stuck with the song in my mind at least 4 times a day. Justin saying A-bomb to Immortal because it hasn't died yet. Go ahead, Q. Take the next one.
Backup hero. The developers on Soulframe were inspired by Ghibli Studios' Princess Mononoke. The animal god was revived. That revived the guy is just the forest god and PM who does the same thing to the main protagonist. I'm pretty hyped for it. Did I not say it was Ghibli inspired?
Yeah, we talked about, we specifically talked behind the scenes about Princess Mononoke too. Nasagra saying, "Da-bomb to the Steam Deck." Hell yeah. Loving it. Probably won't buy a third-party game on Switch ever again. Takal saying, "Da-bomb to the Cards for putting Kyler Murray business out in the street as a 49er. That shit is hilarious."
They did him so dirty with that contract.
They did.
That's so messed up.
Magic Slicky saying, "Da-bomb to Destiny 2. Witch Queen is such a great campaign." Hey, don't forget to put your weekly bombs in the comments. Even if you're here, give me another one on the comments so that I have stuff for the show. And by the way, Q, the one you just read, I don't know. Backup Hero is a great Twitch name. I don't know if it's like Backup Hero, like the hero on standby, or if it's Backup, Hero, which I kind of prefer if that's it. Hey, whoa, Backup Hero.
No, I was thinking backup hero is in the hero that makes sure things are backed up. Like,
the one that's the one person in your D&D group that you're just annoyed with because they're like, did we save to the cloud recently? Have we saved to the cloud recently? Have we saved to the cloud recently, guys? Go ahead, Troy.
Box weekly bomb to bomb for finally getting in my Tundra trackers for VR. Playing VR games like Pavlov in full body is such a huge game changer, and I work out even more knowing that it tracks all my movement, even how I sit down cross-legged in real life. Also an A-bomb to myself because I literally had a weekly bomb written out on last week's episode, but I stupidly hit back on my phone instead of send and cleared it all out. Was too lazy to retype it out, so I went with that one then. Shame on me.
See,
Shame on you indeed.
That's where backup hero
that's where
come
you
in handy.
I was gonna say the same thing. That's where you need a backup hero. That's where you need a backup hero. This should be Jow, sorry. Jow says Jason Winters failed a simple cryptography game, the kind kids play at 5 with their parents, LOL. He looked so cranky about it, talking about having to do the puzzle on the Soulframe site. By the way, small correction, I did put it in the comments and pinned it on last week's episode when we were talking about Soulframe, Digital Extremes, and their partnership with Airship Syndicate. So, point of clarification, and Digital Extremes, thank you for sending this over. The Soulframe will not be shown at the Video Game Awards. So now I am a little concerned that they may have tipped this a little too early because it seems like we're going to have a long wait before we see anything else, which tends to not be very good for games. The Airship Syndicate partnership, by the way, has nothing to do with Soulframe. I erroneously read that incorrectly, and I apologize. Soulframe is being done entirely by Digital Extremes. Airship Syndicate is partnering with them on a totally different project, and that is what will be revealed at the Video Game Awards. So point of clarification on those for you. Go ahead, Q.
Berkner Catalan. Yeah, the trailer for Soulframe was so boring. Cinematic trailers for MMOs are always useless.
Hard to argue. Go ahead, finish it off, Troy.
Joe Brown, I feel that Jason might be criticizing Pantheon a little too harshly on its development time. There have been single-player games that have taken longer than Pantheon thus far, and MMOs are insanely more difficult to make. Final Fantasy 15 took 10 years, Diablo 3 took 11 years, and Metroid Dread took 16 years.
Yeah, see, the only argument that I have with those, particularly with two of them, Final Fantasy 15 and Metroid Dread, is that those projects were actually restarted multiple times, like completely restarted, which is a bit of a different scenario. And they were also AAA developer publisher houses that could throw as much staff at the problem as they wanted whenever they felt like spending the money to do so, which is a little different from Pantheon. But I do agree with the overall point in that, yeah, I think Jason was a little harsh on a small team having. But as we'll see from some Pantheon fans, even Pantheon fans don't feel that it's entirely unfair to maybe criticize how long it's been in development. So the question of the week last week was, are you looking forward to Pantheon? Why or why not? What's the most interesting feature to you so far? We did get some comments that I had to edit down here quite a bit. If you are interested in exactly what we asked for, some people that were had hands-on time with Pantheon and were not under an NDA for what they could talk about, because it's pre-alpha, there are NDAs all over the place, go ahead and throw feedback in there. We had Theric over at Pantheon Plus and Basgrim TV, both tremendous Pantheon content creators. If you are interested in Pantheon, you want to get caught up, or you want to stay abreast of future news, I plugged Sir Medieval last week. Let me plug the Pantheon Plus team this week and Basgrim TV, both on YouTube, Twitch, all of it. You can find them right away. I'll put links to their YouTube in the comments on this show so that you can get to those as well. They both chimed in. In the interest of time, I've selected one particular point that they were making pertinent to our conversation, but definitely head on over to mmobomb.com. Go to last week's show, and you can read some great feedback, whether you're looking forward to Pantheon or not. Theric over at Pantheon Plus says, I wanted to share some of what I can about that experience with your listeners, as was mentioned on the show. I can tell you that it was truly a memorable experience, talking about streaming with the team, particularly running a dungeon. If you look at Pantheon's official website, you'll find their tenets of game design. I felt the experience was very much in line with these. Firstly, their focus on class identity was very apparent. Between myself on the Wizard and the members of our group, we all had roles that were not only distinct, but also critical to our success or failure. We had to work together, communicate, and be engaged in the game or risk failure at any moment. The enemies were intelligent, and the AI was impressive. Enemies would target our casters, break their allies out of being mesmerized, and heal each other. As noted, I was playing the Wizard, and one of my abilities was a spell interrupt that I had to use wisely. Same goes for my teammates. Our rogue had to utilize his traps and stuns when our crowd control was lacking. Our tank had to hold the enemies as best he could when I got a little happy with the fireballs, and so on. I've been playing MMOs a long time, and the sense of accomplishment from this group experience was something I haven't had in quite some time. And that's something that I'm also looking forward to in Pantheon, but wondering, is there a market for it enough to sustain it? Right? Because, Troy, we look back on early MMO experiences, and we want that type of experience again, but not necessarily with some of the limitations that experience came with, 15 years ago or so. So definitely thank you for that feedback. Go ahead, Q.
Basgrim TV, also edited down. For all intents and purposes, Pantheon is playable, maybe even more so than some early access titles. You can group up, chat, fight, loot, equip, die, level up, climb anything, craft, deal with fractures and climates, buy, sell, interact with NPCs in the perception system, and probably more than I'm forgetting. Fortunately, you don't need to take my word for it, and you can watch the full Pantheon gameplay videos and more at youtube.com, Basgrim TV.
Look at that self-plug.
Yeah, get that plug in.
Get that plug in, Baz.
What's even better, though, is that the gameplay is fun. The main thing that it needs is more content. The playable world is still small for an MMO.
Yep. It's going to be interesting. And again, thank you so much for the types of feedback that you gave there. If you want more of their thoughts, head on over. Even both of them said, you know what, it's probably not unfair to say, man, this is taking way too long. They did just get a few extra $1 million from another venture capitalist. Unnamed. They do say they did have a stream this week saying that is not going to influence any decisions or design changes in the game. They're investing in our vision as is. Most companies say that, so we'll have to see if it remains to be the case when it's all said and done. Go ahead, Troy.
Baron Vagabond, not interested in Pantheon. Graphics are important to me, but not in the quality sense. I like cartoon or anime type graphics, and Pantheon seems to be going for real life type graphics. Real life type graphics typically do not age well in my eyes. Pantheon isn't released yet and is already showing its age.
And you know what? Again, it's one of those things, Troy, where it's like that. I don't think that's necessarily being unfair. Like,
no, I don't think it's unfair at all.
Obviously, photorealism or getting closer to realism does come with a drawback if it's going to age faster. And having been starting development in 2014, and obviously they are making changes and upgrades along the way to mitigate that a bit. But you did start many years ago after a failed Kickstarter and then coming back. And so there's been a long development history. Yeah, it does look a little aged without even being out the door yet. Go ahead, Q. Or no, that's my turn, huh?
It is.
It's my turn. All right.
Oh, take the hard one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the hard one. Thunderbolt Vintage, another great YouTube name, says, I want Pantheon to be good. I don't disagree. Go ahead, Q.
Misfit Rain. Not really, but we'll try out any new MMO. Still looking for my home game.
Aren't we all? You can't go back home. I have mine, though. Still, Final Fantasy 14, baby. Live letter, August 12th. And then probably release on the 23rd. Right around Moogle will end, and we'll go live. Question of the week this week. I want to open this up to everything. Doesn't have to be an MMO. Doesn't even have to be multiplayer. I want to learn more about you, dear viewer. So while you're in the comments on YouTube or MMOBomb.com, putting in your weekly bomb there, dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general, answer this question of the week for me. What video game do you have the fondest memories of, and why? What game is it? And is it because of something in the game? Is it because of something with family and friends that game reminds you of? What game do you have the fondest memories of, and why? Let us know in the comments. We will, of course, be back with another episode of the Always Online podcast next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/MMOBomb. Until then, Troy, where can everybody find you?
Hey, tomorrow, the Gaming Gumbo podcast over on Ready Check Radio, and then follow me on Twitter at NoobFridge.
Cute.
Hanging out on Twitter at Quillen.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you every time we go live with our podcast, stream, articles, giveaways, first look videos, and so much more. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.